Potential tariffs on Chinese cars are coming. They're already in the US, they are being proposed in Europe, and a lot of people are not happy about it. Some, on the other hand, are dancing in the streets, but those streets are full of potholes because that's the Midwest. I've got my special guest with me, Randy Kirk. We're going to talk about this a little bit because there's someone in the news who has an opportunity to voice his concerns and share his thoughts. So we'll talk about that. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futurasa. Oh, Randy. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I just couldn't, couldn't be, doesn't get much better than this. They say,
Um,
they say that your 70s are the best 10 years of your life.
who's they?
Yeah, that's always the question, right?
So there's this. We've got this story here. Tesla CEO, I don't know if you know who the CEO of Tesla is. It's a gentleman named Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah,
Says he favors, yeah. Oh, you have heard of him. Okay. Says that he favors no tariffs on Chinese EVs. Tesla CEO Musk said at a conference in Paris that he doesn't agree with Biden's tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles. Tesla competes quite well in the market in China without tariffs and no deferential support. I'm in favor of no tariffs. Trade wars are ugly. They get ugly in a hurry. They start to spill out into other parts of the economy, and it makes it difficult. Before we get into the article in a larger sense, share with me your thoughts on this so far.
Okay, so first of all, in general, I'm in favor of free trade, but there is a significant spot where I agree with tariffs, and the significant spot is where the product does have strategic value, military strategic value. You have to have an automobile industry in a country like the United States. We are the only superpower at this point, and there are a couple of other, wannabe superpowers that produce a lot of cars. So therefore, we want to make sure that we have the ability, to use that kind of factory capability. So steel and cars and aluminum and some of these other things. And so I don't commonly agree with Joe Biden. I think that having appropriate tariffs on steel, automobiles, aluminum, et cetera, are needed strategically. However, there's the opposite side, and this is where I don't agree with Joe Biden. We are not India. We are not a third world country. So tariffs that are ridiculous, so high that it absolutely keeps these other countries out is not appropriate. So, a 25% tariff on incoming Chinese vehicles, probably roughly appropriate. Should be negotiated, should be able to be proved out that it makes it more of a balanced and even playing field for all competitors. But going to 100%, who could think that that was going to make it competitive? That's just going to mean there's not a chance in the world that any Chinese made vehicle can get into the country. And that sounds like a third world nation that is being defensive.
Okay, so I agree on a lot of that. I would disagree and say China is a superpower in terms of strategy, in terms, I'm not speaking to their military. I don't know how many of the future wars will be fought on battlefields necessarily versus economic, but economically they are absolutely a superpower, in my opinion. I would agree that we shouldn't seek to emulate the trade policies of India. 100% tariffs they're insulting, and to call them anti-competitive would be a gross understatement. If your domestic product is so overpriced and undervalued, whatever, that you need to impose 100% tariff on the competition to remain competitive, you are doing it wrong. You don't need more antidote, you need less poison. It's okay. So,
by the way, I love competition. And I think that's what Elon is saying. I think Elon's position is more a case of let them come because that's going to make us better. I can tell you every company that I've ever run, and that's been a bunch of them, over 40, when the competition shows up is when you have to get better. You have to go, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to become leaner, meaner, tougher? How are we going to be more innovative? How are we going to improve our strategies in terms of marketing? everything goes on the table because the competition has shown up. So that's, I think, what Elon is trying to say.
My cousin owns a dance studio, and the competition after 20, 30 years finally showed up. And they were good, and they were lean, and they were aggressive. And she had to make a decision. Do I sell my studio? Do I close my studio? And her husband, who is, by the way, in the Inventors Hall of Fame, great guy, very sharp guy, obviously, decided, you know what? Let's see if we can take it to the next level. And now they have a chain of dance studios.
There you go.
And we were just watching it. It was just magic watching them reinvent this whole business after all these years. Okay, neither Tesla nor I asked for these tariffs, Musk said in a response to a question from Karen So during a Q&A. In fact, I was surprised when they were announced. Biden said he was placing a 100% tariff on Chinese-made goods. And I get it even less for the solar panels. We don't have our own solar panels. What do you just don't want people to have solar panels, I guess? Or are they so cheap that everyone should pay double? And who collects those tariffs? I mean, that means to put a solar panel on your roof, now you're paying $2,000 into the kitty? That's bizarre. Tesla's been struggling this year due to its aging fleet of EVs. Okay. Stop, CNBC. Just report the facts. Don't insert your opinion. You're not good at it. Tesla competes quite well in the market in China with no tariffs and no deferential support. Yes, I'm in favor of that. So frankly, I think if there are not trade barriers established, they will pretty much demolish most other companies in the world. So we got to get better. I'm here in Europe, of course, and we see on the roads cars from everywhere. But you know what I haven't seen a single one of on my entire trip is a Chinese EV. In the south of Germany, in Switzerland, in Austria, I have not seen a single one. No Polestars, no MGs, no Neos, no Lees, no BYDs. They have such a small sliver of the market.
Right.
So I don't know if China's ready to eat everyone's lunch. They're showing it in a very strange way.
Well,
They're showing
okay.
it in a very reserved manner.
Yeah, I would say, okay, the Chinese market is so massive and so huge. And export is one of the hardest things a company will ever do. Okay. I've been an importer, exporter from day one in my professional life, starting with padlocks out of Germany while you're over there. See if you can find some Abus padlocks uh,
All right.
hanging here and there. They are the second largest, or they were the second largest manufacturer of padlocks in the world after Master. And so I know a lot about import export. Did it my entire life. Still do it now. Just got a shipment a few days ago from China of products that I sell on Amazon. So export though is really really hard because you're not only talking about making your product right for that market. It might even be a problem with color. It might be a problem with perceived concept. Do you know that they check out with your friends in Germany? I was shocked to find this many years ago. Do you know that they don't use garbage disposals in Germany?
I had this discussion with Jan from Tesla Fix today. He thought it was the strangest thing. He said our sanitation system would never permit you to put large organic mass down the drain. I said, well, that's not the intent of it. We're not using it as a food processor. It's just that sometimes when you're doing the dishes, the sink gets clogged, and we've got a solution for that. Don't put your hand in it though, because it'll
No,
gobble it
no.
up.
So yeah. So this just gives you an example, though, of how sometimes a product just doesn't make it into the market. So the Chinese, cleverly, smartly, are developing their own market first. You're not going to want to spend a dime on trying to export your product before you feel like you've taken care of your entire market. In fact, with my largest company, with AC International, we had what we called concentric loops, even in the United States. So
Hmm.
we asked ourselves the question: have we really taken care of California, Arizona, Nevada before we
Mm-hmm.
even work very hard on the Midwest or New York? Because it costs more to ship, it costs more to travel, it costs more to put salespeople on the road, even in the Midwest, than it does to put them on in Riverside, for instance. So,
Sure.
so we had the concentric circle idea. Now, when you get beyond those concentric circles, and you're talking about fielding a salesperson in Europe, or fielding a salesperson in Australia, or in China, and then you're talking about coming up with advertising that works in their in their country as opposed to yours? Oh, no, no. Whole nother level. Oh, you want to go to trade shows in those countries? Now you have to have an interpreter in the booth with you. Yeah,
Sure.
there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes with export. So no, I would say that the Chinese are the makers, the 100 plus makers of EVs are being smart in not trying to export until they fill up their own markets.
Wow. Love it. And I would agree that, these tariffs are too steep. This is not a long-term solution. This will hopefully hasten the move of battery production to the U.S. I feel like that was already sufficiently underway before this. I feel like all this is doing is slowing adoption. There was no flood of Chinese EVs coming to the U.S. Even with the 28% tariff, this is just 4 times worse. This just means that a Chinese-built car can't come to the U.S. And by the way, I should clarify, I have seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Chinese-made EVs since I've been here, but they're all Tesla Model 3s. In fact, driving from Austria to Switzerland to Germany today, we probably saw 6 or 7 car carriers full of Model 3 freshes. It
Nice.
was a lovely sight.
Yes.
I would have counted them, but the sample size was too small. But you can do the math. 6 or 7 car carriers, not enough to move the needle. But I would say that the low sales figures we've seen in China may be offset by higher exports. And I know we've seen numbers saying that that Tesla sales in Europe are low. This may indicate that they were waiting for more Model 3s. The Model 3 is a more desirable form factor for a lot of drivers here than the Model Y. And having driven the Highland on the Autobahn, I can tell you, it's a lot of fun.
I bet.
There are not many stretches without speed limits, and I didn't go crazy, but I did go fast.
There you go.
And the battery held up just fine, even though it was an LFP. It's a rear-wheel drive model.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only as fast as supercars from the 80s. So I
Right.
hope that's okay.
Not as fast as my supercar from the 80s.
No.
No,
Well, what did you have?
nothing was as fast as that.
What did you have?
No, I'm playing with you.
Okay.
I did have a Dodge Polaris ex-police car, and that was
Oh,
one
that's
of the
fun.
faster cars. Yes, but
Yeah. It's got a cop motor. It's got cop shocks, cop brakes.
383,
It's before catalytic converter, so it runs good on regular gas.
that's right.
Uh-huh. All right. So what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Leave it in them comments below, as you do. Appreciate it. And everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual. Stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flop, I suppose.